Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really trying to cut through the noise surrounding data governance in Malaysia.
Mhm.
We're taking a critical look at the training needed for the Personal Data Protection Act, the PDPA, specifically focusing on those big 2024 amendments and, maybe even more pressing, the new 2025 guidelines.
Absolutely. And this isn't just, legal theory. This is about resilience.
For your organization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you handle any personal data at all, customer lists, employee records, marketing info, anything,
Right.
then yeah, this is directly relevant.
It is relevant.
And compliance now, it's really not just for the legal team or IT anymore. It's become an organization-wide competence issue. Everyone needs some level of understanding, from HR right through to sales.
That scale, that need for everyone to get it. That's why the training approach is so interesting. We looked at this e-learning course solution.
The self-paced one.
Yeah. Interactive, self-paced. Only needs about 3 hours, apparently. And it's available 24/7.
Which is key.
Totally. Because if you've got hundreds, maybe thousands of staff, pulling them off the floor for days, it's just not practical.
No way. And that efficiency is crucial because the content itself, well, it's gotten more complex. We're definitely moving beyond the old 2010 Act framework.
So today, our mission is basically to map out this new landscape for you.
Yeah.
What are the structural changes, those hard deadlines, and the tricky bits about sending data overseas?
Got it. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's start with those foundations shifting. The 2024 amendments, you said they signal a move towards more accountability. What's the biggest change there?
Well, the big theme is definitely that shift from sort of passive compliance to real demonstrable accountability. And the most structurally impactful change, it's the mandatory appointment of data protection officers.
DPOs.
DPOs. Mandatory now. That feels significant.
It is.
Because having a dedicated mandatory DPO that forces a proactive stance, right? It's not just ticking a box anymore. You have someone responsible.
Precisely. But it also brings immediate challenges on the ground.
Like what? Finding the right person. Exactly. Resources, expertise. A DPO isn't just an admin role. They need a mix of legal understanding, IT security knowledge, even change management skills.
That's a tough combo to find.
It is. And the training materials actually acknowledge this. Many organizations are struggling to, identify or hire people who fit that bill. It's putting a real strain on the professional job market here in Malaysia.
Interesting. So the law creates the need, but the market has to catch up. Okay, beyond the DPO role, what about rights for individuals? Did 2024 give people more control over their data?
Yes, definitely. The biggest one is the right to data portability.
Data portability. Okay, what does that mean practically?
It means you, as an individual, can ask an organization for your personal data in a common machine-readable format. So you can easily take it and say, move it to another service provider.
Like switching banks or social media platform.
Exactly. It mirrors things like the GDPR globally. And technically, it means companies might need to overhaul how they store and manage data just to make this possible. Easy access, easy transfer.
Got it. And I saw something about sensitive data classification changing.
That's right. Biometric data, think fingerprints, facial recognition, voice prints, is now explicitly classified as sensitive personal data.
Which means
it needs the highest level of security and critically explicit consent before you can even collect or process it. Given how common biometrics are becoming, that's a timely clarification.
Definitely. Okay, so understanding these categories, sensitive versus regular personal data, is step one. Does the training nail down these basic definitions? Because that's where mistakes often start, right? Mixing up roles.
Oh, absolutely. Module 2, I believe, focuses heavily on that. Personal data, sensitive personal data, who the data subject is, and crucially, that difference between the data controller and the data processor.
Controller versus processor, always a key one.
Always. The controller decides the why and how of processing. The processor just acts on instructions. Getting that right, especially with cloud providers or outsourcing, it's absolutely fundamental under the amended Act.
Makes sense.
Oh, and one quick clarification. They added the Act now specifically states it doesn't apply to the data of deceased individuals.
Good to know that boundary. Okay, let's pivot from the structure to the operational fire drills. The 2025 Data Breach Notification Guidelines. This feels like the really urgent part. What are the timelines?
They are designed to force quick action, extremely tight timelines. Once you confirm a qualifying breach has happened,
Confirm it, okay.
you have only 72 hours to notify the Personal Data Protection Commissioner, the PDPC.
72 hours, wow.
Right.
3 days, that's aggressive.
It is, especially when, the breach itself is probably causing chaos.
Right. Let's imagine this happens, say, 4:30 p.m. on a Friday. Does the training actually prepare people for hitting that deadline under stress when maybe key people aren't even around?
That's exactly the point the training hammers home. Readiness. Meeting that 72-hour deadline isn't about what you do during the breach.
It's about before.
It's all about what you did months before. It demands pre-planned, well-rehearsed incident response plans, IRPs.
So practice runs.
Absolutely. The training talks about forensic readiness, having the right logging, clear decision processes, knowing your immediate containment steps before anything happens. If you're trying to figure out who to call when the alert goes off, you've already missed the boat on the 72 hours.
Okay, so tested preparedness is non-negotiable. That's the message. What about notifying the people affected, the individuals?
That's the next deadline. They must be notified within 7 days of confirming the breach. Also critical for trust and liability, of course.
7 days for individuals.
Yeah.
Okay. But what if it's a small incident? Something minor that maybe doesn't hit the threshold for notifying the PDPC? Can companies just, sweep that under the rug?
Absolutely not. And this is a really important point for showing diligence. Even those minor incidents, the ones that don't need formal notification, you must record them, log them internally in detail.
Log everything.
Everything. What happened, what you did, how you fixed it. And you have to keep those records for 2 years.
2 years. Wow.
It shows the regulator you're actively monitoring things, even the small stuff. It demonstrates a mature security posture.
That requires some serious internal process.
It does. And the last layer of complexity with breaches in Malaysia, it's not just one regulator.
Ah, right. You mentioned that.
Yeah, the training highlights this. Depending on what kind of data was lost, you might need to tell multiple authorities.
For example.
Well, if it involves financial data, you've got to notify Bank Negara Malaysia, BNM. Suspected crime, that's PDRM, the police.
Okay.
Communications data. MCMC, critical infrastructure. That brings in NCSA, the National Cybersecurity Agency.
So the response really depends on the type of data breached, not just the breach itself.
Exactly. It adds another layer to that incident response plan. You need to know who to call for what.
Okay, helpful clarification. Let's switch gears one more time. The global challenge, transferring personal data outside Malaysia. What's needed now to do that legally?
This is, one of the more technical bits. Fundamentally, it's about due diligence. You have to ensure the receiving country and the entity there offers an adequate level of protection compared to our PDPA.
Adequate protection. How do you judge that?
Well, the old grounds like consent or contract necessity still exist, but the burden of proof, the scrutiny, is much higher now. Which brings us to the TIA.
The Transfer Impact Assessment.
Right.
Why is that mandatory now? What does it actually involve?
Okay, so the TIA is a formal mandatory risk analysis. It specifically forces the data controller here in Malaysia to look hard at the legal system of the country they're sending data to.
The legal system itself, not just the company receiving it.
Precisely. The key question is, does that country's law, especially around government access or surveillance, potentially undermine the protections the PDPA guarantees?
Ah, so you have to assess if, say, foreign intelligence could legally grab that data in a way that wouldn't be allowed here.
Exactly that. It's a proactive check on state-level risks to the data.
Okay, that's a significant hurdle. So it's not just checking if they have a privacy law, but if their whole legal environment holds up. What if the TIA shows a gap? What tools do companies use then?
Right. If there's a gap, you need bridging mechanisms. The two main ones are BCRs and SECs.
BCRs.
Binding corporate rules. Think of these as internal rules for big multinational companies. They set consistent data protection standards for transfers within their own corporate group across borders, ensures everyone in the family plays by the same rules.
Okay, internal rules for internal transfers. Makes sense. And SECs.
Standard contractual clauses. These are the external tool. They're basically pre-approved contract templates. You use them between the Malaysian controller and the foreign receiver.
Right.
They contractually force the receiver to uphold PDPA-level standards regardless of what the local law in their country might lack. They create a contractual bubble of protection.
Got it. So BCRs for internal group stuff, SECs for external partners.
Essentially, yes. For companies doing a lot of international data work, mastering BCRs and SDCs is now, pretty much essential.
That definitely drives home the complexity there. Okay, let's bring it back to the main goal of this training we've been discussing. It's about embedding all this into daily work, right? Not just theory. The PDPA itself rests on 7 core principles, like security, notice, and choice. How does the training make sure those actually get applied day to day?
That's really the focus of the final part of the course. Practical application. It uses scenarios, tools, things to help people translate those principles, like, say, the security principle, into actual updates for their workflows, their tech settings, the company policies they use every day.
Because it connects the law to the job.
Exactly. The aim is genuine embedded compliance, making sure everyone, not just managers, applies the rules consistently as part of their normal work.
Which makes the logistics of getting this training out there even more critical. So for organizations listening who are thinking, okay, we need this, what are the practical details? The investment for this Inspirasi training package.
Right, the investment. It's priced for accessibility, really, thinking about mass rollout. It's Ringgit Malaysia, 230, RM 230 per person.
230 ringgit for the full course covering all these amendments and the 2025 guidelines.
That's right, the whole package.
That seems pretty efficient for a 3-hour certification, given the complexity. And the big question for Malaysian companies budgeting this, HRDC claimability.
Yes, and this is huge. It's 100% HRDC claimable.
Ah, that's a game changer.
It really is. For companies needing to train potentially hundreds of staff, it means the costs can be covered by their Human Resource Development Fund contributions. It takes away that big financial hurdle of finding budget directly from operations. Makes it much easier to say yes to getting everyone trained properly.
That removes a major barrier. Okay, so if you're listening and thinking your teams need this update, need this competence boost, how do they find out more? The contact info for Inspirasi.
Yep, you can email them at sales@nurinspirasi.com. That's sales@nurinspirasi.com. Or just give them a call. Plus 601-254-48918.
Great. Sales@nurinspirasi.com or plus 601-254-48918. Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's circle back to maybe the most demanding part. We talked about that mandatory 72-hour breach notification.
The big one.
We want to leave you, the listener, with this thought. Given that having tested, resilient response plans isn't just good practice anymore, it's legally required. How recently have you actually drilled your incident response plan? Not just written it down, but tested it across departments.
Because real compliance today, it isn't just a document on a shelf. It's a practiced, almost muscle memory response. That's the real test of readiness. Deep knowledge truly starts with proactive education.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.